Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Staffing Monthly, the industry's only digital publication that focuses on marketing, sales, recruiting, leadership, and technology. And today you are in for a real treat. If you're out there like most agencies and you are feeling the pinch of business development and you're really struggling with growing market share, getting meetings, getting that new client, and trying to deploy the techniques of old in today's kind of marketplace, and you're feeling that struggle and that frustration, this episode's for you because that's what we're going to dig into. We're going to talk about some of the things that have changed in our industry as it relates to sales and marketing. And more importantly, we're going to talk about something that absolutely has to happen. Sales and marketing has to be a unified function. There has to be some unity there. They have to be on the same page. They have to work together. And there's a specific way that this has to happen. And because that's the case, I have welcomed on two of the very best in the industry to talk about how this works and how it can work in your agency. On the marketing side, you probably already know this person. She's one of the most well-known in the industry. But we have Leslie Vickrey from ClearEdge. If you don't know ClearEdge, I'm shocked, but they are one of the preeminent marketing firms that specializes in the staffing industry, and they really do all things staffing. They actually work with a lot of the key vendors to the industry and helping them make their marketing on point, but they actually help elevate the brand and the effectiveness of marketing for staffing agencies in the industry. And they work very closely with CMOs, with the leaders of organizations to make sure that their marketing is on point. And I also have on the sales side someone that I've more recently gotten to know who I am thoroughly impressed with, which if you know me, you know that's actually a pretty high bar, especially when it comes to sales. But I have Anna Frazzetto, and she is a CEO and author of her own consulting firm. And what I love about this and her journey is she's actually been to essentially the top of the mountain leading sales for some of the largest organizations out there like AirSwift and really driving industry forward. And because of her unique perspective on this industry and how well she understands how to drive sales in the staffing industry, she stepped out on her own because her mission is to help others do the same thing. She sees a lot of people in this industry that are facing the same struggles that we all are. It's hard to grow. What's the right strategy? How do you deploy the right tactics in a way that's going to generate more revenue and more opportunity? And she has this mission to educate people and help people get better in that area. So we have these two powerhouses that are going to talk about marketing and sales and how they blend together. So I know it was long-winded, but I'm excited. Leslie, Anna, so great to have you here. Thanks for being part of this.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, Dan, and what a fantastic introduction. Anna, we have a lot to live up to on this today.
I know. Thank you so much, Dan. That was quite the intro. I almost feel like we should have a mic drop and we're done.
Right.
We're out. We're out. That would be so anticlimactic, and that would be unfortunately, I think that would be a lot of what people get in this industry when they try to learn about sales, right? Like they're like, what do I really do? And the reason I like talking to both of you is because you're tacticians. You know, I don't think I've ever had a conversation with either of you that I didn't personally walk away knowing how to do something different or better. So, but speaking of different and better, sales has always been a silo in the staffing industry, usually under-resourced, under-trained, under-supported in a lot of different ways. And marketing has usually been woefully lacking. And if agencies try to do it internally, they don't do a good job. And then it's hard for them to invest the money to go outside. So there's always been these silos. And so I want to talk about how do we break these silos down so sales and marketing can cohesively work together. So Leslie, I want to start with you on this one. From a marketing perspective, what do you think has been the biggest challenges that staffing agencies have actually ran into when it comes specifically to marketing? And then what is the shift that's happened in the industry that they need to be aware of today?
Yeah, I think, and thanks, Dan. I think that one of the biggest challenges is a misunderstanding of what marketing is and what it can and should be able to do. I was extraordinarily fortunate when I got my start in staffing. I was in-house running marketing for now what is known as Ronstad's technology division, but I really cut my teeth in marketing and sales integration with Anna. I don't know if you knew that, but we both were working together, and Anna.
I did not know that.
Yes.
Okay.
One of the very first champions when it came to professional services and staffing kind of coming together, but pulling marketing in and working hand in hand. So oftentimes you hear marketing can't track ROI because sales isn't tracking it or the systems aren't talking. Well, Anna fully believed that marketing helped her. And so she was one of the best teammates where she would share, we got this deal because of this, or I got this meeting because of this. So she connected the dots between sales and marketing, which helped leadership see the value. And it also helped sales reps understand the value of marketing and wanting to partner together. One of the things I learned early in my career, and I talked about this yesterday with someone, in fact, a CEO of a company, saying one of the mistakes that companies make with marketing and making it a silo is not integrating it to the point where do marketers really understand the business? So yes, maybe you've grown up in staffing, but let's say, do you know how the company makes revenue? Are you familiar with the contracts? Do you understand what spreads are? Do you know all of the ins and outs of how recruiters make their commission, how sales reps make their commission? Do you know the tools and technologies? And by do you know, are you sitting in on stand-up meetings? Are you shadowing sales reps on calls virtually or in person? Are you listening to conversations with candidates and recruiters? Are you part of the management meetings? Even if you're there to listen and learn and grow, if you don't fully understand the business side of marketing, it's really hard to be a successful marketer. And if the business doesn't let marketing in to learn that and grow and understand that, then they're not going to have a successful marketing program. So out of the gate, that is usually my first piece of advice to companies and marketers is, do you really understand the business? Are you sitting in on the calls with the analysts, with the different associations? Are you asking questions and, being really curious? If not, you need to be successful. And if you aren't, it isn't a surprise that the program isn't a success.
I I completely agree with that. I've seen so many times that staffing agencies don't respect marketing as a function because they can't attribute revenue directly to it. So they think that they can get away with hiring either a low cost, inexperienced person or an intern to manage their social media. And while I certainly appreciate social media as a medium of marketing and a tool of marketing, I agree with you, Leslie, that they don't understand fully what it is, and because of that, they don't really let that person in. They're like, "Oh, go post on Facebook."
Right,
It's like
exactly.
it's a lot more than that. It's about connecting your UVP to the ICP, and what is the right message at the right time. So I think that's incredible. And so I want to flip over. So you said something I think is amazing. It sounds like Anna's the only one that knows how to attribute revenue to marketing. Because
Well,
so how do we do that, Anna? That's amazing right there. Like how are you able to connect those dots? Because most people can't.
So what's interesting, I kind of want to go back a little bit to what Leslie was saying. I would honestly say that my success in my career, I would boldly say it's because of marketing, right? Because marketing was working in concert with marketing is what gave me the ammunition to be able to better penetrate into the account. So, for example, we had some situations where we would have events and we would invite different people to come to the events. And these were all like marketing, generated events that we would want to be able to talk about particular trends or techniques or different service offerings. And by inviting people and having that continuity so that you stay top of mind with your prospects, what eventually happens is it might not be at the event that you sign the deal, but it might be 3 months later where then they say, wait a minute, hang on a second. Anna Frazzetto, I know Anna Frazzetto. She invited me to that event. We had a CIO roundtable 3 months ago. Or I listened to that podcast that I can't believe that's the salesperson that's trying to get in front of me, somebody else from the organization. But that's how you connect the dots. And marketing is really the driver of that. I'll give an example. I worked in an organization where at the start, marketing did not report into me as a function, but marketing was very proud of the leads that they would generate. And I asked a simple question, what's the conversion rate of the leads? And there was no answer to that. They were just impressed with the number of leads that they were able to generate and how that was increasing year over year. Yes, exactly, year over year. So I said, well, no, the key is it's the quality of the leads that are coming in, and how is marketing connected with the sales team to make sure that they're driving the right leads that turn into real prospects and real opportunities for the salespeople. So it's all connected, and you add the technology component to that, right? It's all about the data and making sure that you have, valid data that you're measuring and processing, and that turns into how you generate revenue out of utilizing marketing, technology, and sales all together.
I love that, and I've got a question, but Leslie, do you have anything you want to add to that or respond to what Anna just said before I sort of take? I think I'm going to iterate on this this topic here.
Yeah, just thanks for the marketing love, Anna. And you're absolutely right. Just to confirm, we see this all the time when marketing's generating leads, but is it really driving leads that's driving growth for the business? And are they targeting the right audience? Are they using the right platforms to get to that audience? And then how are they turning those over to sales and what's happening with it? And again, if your systems aren't communicating, it's having that relationship and that respect between the two organizations, so they can have those very helpful and meaningful conversations to turn it around. So it's great to get leads, but it's even better when it converts.
I mean, conversion's everything, right? I mean, that really is the fruit of the labor, and you need those results. And I know that you recently shared some of your result data from how you track things at ClearEdge, that you're seeing, 200+% increase in marketing sourced revenue. And for those listening, I want to repeat that. That's where we're saying 200+% increase in marketing sourced revenue. And then there's also a 30+% annual revenue growth when you actually bring sales and marketing together. And I think I'm going to share an example of my prior life when I used to oversee sales and marketing, and I think I made a fatal mistake. And I want to get your perspective on how to actually bridge this gap. So I used to treat marketing and sales like two separate owners of the buyer's journey, right? So I used to say, hey, marketing, you're going to sort of prime the pump. You're going to create awareness. And then once we have people sort of warming up a little bit, willing to say hello to us, your job is done. And then sales, that's where you got to get in there quickly. And you're going to own the next part of the buyer's journey. And you're going to own all of that. And sales, you play here. Marketing, you play over here. And then sales, when you get someone that's ready to sign the contract, you're going to hand it off to recruiting. And I don't think that works anymore. I think the handoff was always a little bit wonky and ineffective. And I think my gut says that we need more of a unified ownership of the buyer's journey. Would you ladies both agree with that?
Yes.
1,000%.
How do we do
absolutely.
That? How do we do that then?
I think the key is also, where does marketing report in the organization and where does sales report into the organization? I'm a fan of it reporting to the same, C-level person, right? Because then it's a common mission, common goal, common objective. I think marketing needs to be involved in concert with sales throughout the journey. Right? Because what's going to happen is there's nothing worse than going to marketing and saying, hey, can you clean up this presentation for me? I'm pitching this proposal. That's not what marketing is there for. We have administrative support that can do stuff like that. Right. So but making marketing be part of the journey where they understand, like, what's the problem we're trying to solve? What other industry data can we gather that maybe sales doesn't have access to, but marketing has access to? They become part of the problem solving. So I think the key is that joint ownership. I'm a big fan of that, of having that throughout every phase, from initial building of the funnel through, proposal phase, through contract signature, through implementation. Marketing is going to have a component of that, just like sales does.
Right. And I mean, really, there's an AI tool that can help you on your presentation creation, but it's part of getting curious and being not only part of solving a problem, but creating opportunity. And I think one of the key words, Anna, you were honing in on is that joint accountability for the success. And one of the things we do when looking at the funnel, Dan, specific to your question is we look to align. So if you envision an actual funnel, first you have to ask yourself, what is our revenue goal and target? And I can't tell you how many times marketing, they're not even sure what the company's revenue is, which is a shame. So understand what's your company's revenue target, what's the sales target, what's committed for the year, what's in the pipeline, what stages of the pipeline are they in, and what is the gap you need to make up for. And then when you kind of assign it to that full funnel of committed, so what's the growth opportunity within committed accounts? So that's account-based marketing. When you look at the funnel and you say, gosh, Anna, you've got so many opportunities right now that are like stuck in the middle of the funnel. How do we help you move them down into the funnel to close? And then that top of the funnel, brand building, really filling that funnel to get qualified leads in that move down through the funnel. But there's a gap there that needs to be filled. And it's really sales and marketing's job to work on that together. So we look at the funnel and we assign, what is it called in sales and marketing? Each company kind of calls it slightly different things. And then what type of content will work best within those stages of the funnel across what channels of the funnel for those specific target audiences. So am I focused on organic search, paid ads, webinars, PR? What is it? Case study creation, testimonials, voice of the customer. If you think of it moving down the funnel, all of those things help in the decision-making process, and sales and marketing should work together to understand that. But first and foremost, you need to know what you're dealing with. What is that current state that you're trying to go after? Where are things in the funnel? And then how can we partner together to bring those to close? And not only close, our job's not done there, it's growth. What are the joint accountability metrics for how much each account has the potential to grow year over year? And the retention piece too. So to me, it's lock and step, joint accountability, and really working together throughout that funnel.
That's the land and expand, right? Strategy, right? Like once you're in the account, what's the joint sales and marketing strategy to further land and expand that account?
Yes. 100%.
Yeah, I think that's a great point to emphasize as well, is that most staffing agencies shouldn't say it. That's not fair. A lot of staffing agencies don't realize that it's much, much easier and cost effective to grow an existing account than it is to go get a new one. And I think that a lot of times it's like, okay, what's next? What's next? And there's such an emphasis on going and getting that new business that we sort of spread our resources a little bit too thin, and we don't realize that you can expand your current customer base who have already trusted you, who have already given you the opportunity and are looking for an exceptional experience. You can really expand that. So, but one thing, so I had this mental imagery, and I thought it was, I would love to see people working together like this. So do you envision like a salesperson and a marketing person almost working in tandem, to where the marketing person might actually audit all of the touch points of the entire journey and say, here is some material that you can use. Here's the mediums that are the most effective at each stage, maybe even help out with some of the nurturing or email copy to kind of optimize that piece. And then the salespeople are sort of informing the marketing people to what their in the field or in-person experience with customers are, to say, hey, I really need a piece of content that can deliver this message and talks about our UVP this way. How do I do that? And then they work together like that to get that piece out. Is that really what joint ownership of this buyer's journey looks like in a perfect world? Or am I off base there a little bit?
I mean, I think depending on the size of the company, yes. And, if you have different champions or people who can be part of a task force or something of that nature, where it's a larger organization, you can look at different ways to do that. Obviously, some brands have different brands. They are selling different products and services. So you have to understand that. A lot of what I hear lately too is, well, marketing's doing a great job marketing staffing, but they're not doing a great job marketing professional services. And there's a different way to market professional services. So it always, to me, comes back down to the buyer. Who are you targeting? Who's the audience? What is that unique value proposition to them and that message that we should attach to it? And then what's that sales playbook? So we put together a brand framework that basically says, here's a high level positioning. And then you could just break it down real easily into different pain points based on buyer and what are the key messages for that by buyer. But the sales process is different depending on what people are selling. So as marketers, we also have to be in tune with that. That one message isn't going to work for all, one methodology for marketing isn't going to work for all. But unless I'm directly tied into that, and I would emphasize saying it's not just talking to the sales rep, you've got to also take it one step further to talk to the clients, talk to the candidates, understand what they're thinking of. So be on those calls, listen into what the objections are that they're hearing, because you may be creating these sell sheets that they absolutely do not need. Maybe they need something totally different, but unless you're in there and can see it and fully understand it, the sales reps may not even fully know what's available to them. And together you can come up with something.
It's also, it depends on the complexity of the deal, right? I think, Leslie, you were saying like the size of the company. I mean, if we're talking like traditional staff aug, where you got the onesies, twosies, we don't need to have like a complicated where a salesperson and a marketing person has to be assigned to that opportunity. But as the deals get more sophisticated, where you start getting into the strategy of further landing and expanding within an account, either if it's traditional staff aug or you're bridging into professional services and more of a solution based, this is where the collaboration becomes key, because you're right. There's nothing more frustrating. And Leslie, we've both worked in companies where you have, I have no marketing material to be able to explain, what we do. Are there any case studies? Meanwhile, there's a library of case studies. There's a library of collateral that's been built. But because they're so far removed, and this is why you need to have that collaboration saying, oh, hang on, we now have a sales book strategy that has a marketing strategy part of it and how you penetrate that account. If you talk about any of the sales methodologies out there, like force management or target account selling or Miller Hyman, like you name it, there's so many out there. They all have marketing as a component. Right. So therefore, you need to be able to make sure that you engage every step of the way.
Yep, I agree.
So one thing, and this is a complete sidebar, and then I want to get into like how technology can support this, because this is an area that I feel like is very under supported in staffing historically. But Leslie, you mentioned that you've got I don't know if you said a brand guide or whatever that talks about the process for doing UVP and ICP. As an aside, I'd love to follow up with you and maybe run a joint workshop. My most popular workshop that I do right now is the Modern Staffing Sales System. I just delivered it at Connect and I think 3 or 4 other events this year so far. But before I even get into what the Modern Staffing Sales System looks like, which is very much a marketing and sales play, I've been preaching marketing and sales unification for a while, but one of my opening slides is prerequisites. And it's like, there's 5 things that you need to do before any modern marketing sales system is going to work for you. And one is redefine your UVP. Like really take a look in the mirror and understand, who you are, what value do you really provide? What are you willing to do and what are you not willing to do? And know what you should say yes to and no. And then clearly define the ICP and obviously the buying motivators at the different influencers throughout that process or stakeholders. And then the magic part is being able to connect the two. What is the messaging that you need to be saying about your UVP as it relates to the ICP? So like I share those as prerequisites. I teach those things independently as a workshop, but like I think someone like you that has your optics on marketing and what really works, maybe there's an opportunity for us to share those, I guess, our perspectives with the staffing industry. I think that would be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love that.
So I want to talk about the technology piece, because I grew up in this industry for the last couple of decades, and I feel like there's never been a great CRM, certainly not natively in any of the ATSs. And I understand the importance of an applicant tracking system and how it's a central piece, but I've never truly found a great tool natively in those, and I've honestly looked at all of these different tools out there, and it's hard. Sometimes it's confusing. HubSpot I'm a huge fan of, but it's not industry specific. It's a bit agnostic. It takes some customization. Salesforce can literally do anything, but it takes customization. Sourcewell, industry specific. I'm actually a big fan of Sourcewell. Apollo, you can build campaigns. There's like a lot of different tools you can use, but then integrating it into the ATS, because you still need that single source of truth. It's a lot. And I feel like salespeople are always given a bad rap for not documenting things, but I also don't think the tools they have available are as intuitive or is, I guess, at the level of what recruiters do. So, in the thought of just technology supporting sales and marketing and this unification of the buyer's journey, what are you seeing out there? What do you recommend? What's a good practice? What shouldn't we be thinking about? And I'd like to just hear from both of you on this one.
Mhm. I'll go ahead and jump in, Anna, and then you
Yeah.
can close us out on that one. It's not a surprise to me that we don't have a strong CRM dedicated to the staffing industry, because I think we're an industry focused on marketing to the candidate. So everything was originally created to marketing to the candidate. So that side of it is probably stronger than the sales side. Ironically, like where we come from as an agency is sales should always be on, recruiting should always be on. You should always be doing both. And we've learned that the hard way with where the market is today and has been in the last few years, is that, it catches up to you when you're not focused on the sales pipeline. So now we don't have tools and technologies that are developed specifically for that. So we're trying to hodgepodge kind of things together and create things that are just okay. We have spent a lot of years working closely with the ATSs as it relates to their websites and making job boards native to their site to ensure that it is, better for SEO, better results than if it isn't native to the website. So we created a product called ATS Sync. It also now syncs the CRM, because I can't tell you, Dan, how many calls I'd be on where the marketer would say, we're spending, and I mean, like, it could be millions of dollars on paid ads to drive traffic to a website, and they can tell that where it's coming from, the source it's coming from, but they cannot tell click to close. So when someone clicks on it, they can't tell when it goes to close, or even, let's say, that land and expand, Anna, that you were talking about, anything past that they can't track. And it's frustrating for us, because then marketing gets cut. Marketing isn't driving growth of the business. It could be, maybe you are spending in the right place. You don't know. It's just the two systems and groups. Again, when you talk about silos, they're working in complete silos. So none of it is surprising to me. However, there is a fix that you can do. It doesn't have to be at that enterprise level spend where you're spending 60, $100 million to put a solution in place. We are fortunate to have great vendors in our industry who have created wonderful technologies and allow us to API in. When you can do that, you can sync the different pieces and have them talking more easily and seamlessly to you. So I'm super excited about what I hope companies will adopt and start to see when it comes to systems talking together. Sales, marketing, and technology. There's great products out there. There's great people on the teams that are working there. Now we can connect them and see even better results.
Yeah, I would just add, I mean, in sales in particular, I think today, more so than any other point in time, having accurate data and current data is the most critical component to getting you closer to closing a deal. So therefore, having the system availability, the communication taking place, and the entering of accurate data is critical to the success, right? That's what's going to increase your close rate.
I love that. And you said data, which is a great segue into one of the last two questions I really want to ask before we kind of give a big shout out to a really important thing that's happening here. So you say data. When I think of data, I obviously think of like dashboards and KPIs and things like that, because if you have good data, you can make better decisions. And if you know what your KPIs are, they can guide you in those decisions. So I want to hear from each of you what your top one or two KPIs should be for this sort of joint collaboration between sales and marketing. And I'll start, Anna, just keep going. What do you think your top one or two KPIs in this area should be?
I think the conversion rate, what I talked about to start, lead to conversion, because that shows that marketing and sales are in sync, that we're generating the right leads that turn into real business opportunity, right? So it's activity leads to productivity, which leads to results.
And customer acquisition costs too, tracking that. And, right now, the biggest thing we're seeing with our clients as it relates to trying to track data and do paid ads and SEO and so forth is just the rise of AI in SEO and paying really close attention to what's happening with your metrics. So staying on top of that with Google having its own AI source and people not needing to click as much on different top links and so forth. We're really, all of us are having to pay close attention to what that means and the impact on the industry. So paying close attention to customer acquisition costs, what's changing, what keywords are working, not working, and getting, again, just curious with data and tracking and so forth to see what's working, what's not working, and be patient because things take time. Clients always want to switch things up after a day or two of something. Get the data, take a couple weeks, take a month, get the data, make the right changes, but be agile, flexible to make adjustments and see what's working. Because like the market and the world is changing, so is the data.
Speaking of things that are changing, I see that you've mentioned paid ads a couple of times, and I don't see that as the most common marketing tactic for agencies. Obviously, you're the expert in this space. Do you see more and more agencies going to paid ads, and are you seeing good attribution to converting into clients through that channel?
Yes and yes. 100%. Yeah. But you
Is
know what?
it?
Listen, for us, it's cross channel. So if you're
That's where I was
just
going to go. That's where I was going to go. Okay, so
Yeah.
yeah, all right.
We never recommend do one thing. If we work with a company and they say, we just want to do email and this is what we're expecting, or we're just trying to do social, or we just want to do events, or we just want to do paid ad, take the word just out and think of multi-channel approach. That is the way. And Anna mentioned it right out of the gate on the podcast when she was doing, being written up in CIO.com regularly, Forbes regularly, hosting CIO events regularly, podcast, social, all of those channels together give you the results that you're going to want to see. One channel alone typically doesn't do the trick.
It's too noisy out there for one channel to work these days.
That's
So,
true.
all right. So here's the last one, and I could talk to you ladies for hours and hours, and I look forward to future conversations doing that. But to honor your time, I got one last question for each of you, and this is going to be the most actionable portion. So if you were sitting down with a staffing leader, CEO, or someone in the C-suite that was like, "Yes, I hear you. I understand that this needs to happen." What is something actionable that is like the most practical, actionable first step that a staffing leader can take to be successful in breaking down these silos and really blending sales and marketing together to be effective? I'll start with you, Leslie.
I mean, the first thing we do, we lead by strategy. So if you're not willing to invest in growth and you're constantly in the mindset of cost savings, cost reduction, we're probably not going to convince you otherwise. If you have this mindset that no, marketing has failed every time and I'm not open-minded to it, I'm not going to probably change your perception. If you're open to investing in growth, you say things like, well, I get what got us here isn't going to get us there. A lot of people are very fortunate to have grown really large companies, but what's going to get them to that next step of doubling, tripling revenue, that big acquisition that they want to have happen for their company, is probably not doing things the same way. So if they're open to looking under the covers and seeing what's working, what's not working, and like I said, having that deep conversation, marketing as a business function and understanding the pipeline, understanding, the tools, technologies, looking under the covers of sales, marketing, operations. It's not just marketing, it's the whole business. If you're, open-minded to that, then marketing can be a serious growth driver. If you're not open-minded to that, I don't know that I'm going to change a perception, sadly. Anna and I have had many conversations with executives. We have data to back it up, all of these things. But if you're not willing to make a small investment to help you double, triple in size, then, I don't know, something else that company needs to change.
And I'll tell you, Anna, before I give you a chance to answer that, I will. I think Leslie, you're more diplomatic than I, so I'm going to just come and say it bluntly. If you're marketing, you won't be long.
Right.
Your days are numbered. We've passed the tipping point. We are in a marketing led industry and staffing now, just like everything else in life. It's very marketing led. So if you're not willing to adopt that and build marketing into your systems and invest in marketing or invest with experts to help you figure that out, it's your time left in the industry is going to be short. That's my take point blank. So
Love it. Love your directness.
and so what is your most actionable step to a leader of staffing to help bring sales and marketing together to be effective?
All right. I always say get focused, right? Get focused, because I think what winds up happening is, especially during this day and age, Dan, before we even started the podcast, we were talking about this. Should I stay? Should I go? What should I do? Do I invest? Do I not invest? There's a lot of nervousness out there. So the first thing that has to happen is you need to stand firm and get focused. Don't get distracted by all the peripheral noise that's taking place around you. And then start focusing on, okay, what's my core business? How am I going to succeed in my core business? And this is where sales and marketing need to come together to be able to engage. And, just add to what Leslie said, marketing is going to be the key ingredient. I said at the start of the podcast, I owe my success to being in lockstep with marketing, right? If I would have tried to do that alone, I wouldn't have been as successful as I was in my career. It was the fact of, it's like, why not? You have this entire organization that can help you and kind of arm you with what you need to be able to acquire new contacts, new clients, new business, and expand existing business. It's a no-brainer. So I would say get focused and then get in lockstep between your sales and marketing organization to be able to drive business forward.
I love it. I love it. And again, I will be so bold as to say, if you're a leader and you're watching this, even if you're not a leader, if you're in sales or you're in marketing, like this is on you. It takes everybody to come together and unify this, but we're past the tipping point, folks. You need to bring sales and marketing together to drive organizational growth going forward. Like that's just the state that we're in today. So if you want to, I'll get to that. I want to promote something really big. So a couple of years ago, Leslie, you and I had a chance to have a conversation, and we were talking about a book that you co-wrote with the Lady Leaders Club, and it was Together We Rise. I don't know if I can show up my screen thing here,
Yeah.
But Together We Rise, which was an incredible book, and I think the entire story. Of how it came together was pretty fascinating. But the fact that there were so many industry leaders that decided to come together, female industry leaders decided to come together and tell their stories. And I thought that was so cool that you each took a chapter and there was this origin story that kind of said, hey, this is where I came from. This is how I landed. Like literally for you, you kind of went as far as your car would go. And I just think that was kind of neat that like you shared those origin stories about how you started and then where you got to where you were sort of a pinnacle in the industry. And seeing that was incredible. But now you're launching the second book. The same authors are getting back together and you're going to be launching Rising with Courage. It's going to be available any day here. And we'll have the links to be able to get this book out there. And this is one of my most, just so you're aware, I don't know if you know this, it's one of my most gifted books. I give this book out to any promising female leader, woman leader in this industry. I give them this because I want them to know that there's so many people that have trudged this path before them and that they can lean on, they can connect with. So, but I want to hear about Rising with Courage. I've been excited about this. I've heard from LJ and Kendra and so many of the others talking about this book coming out. So tell me about Rising with Courage. What is this book about? What's the premise? What are we in store for?
Yeah, well, and thank you, Dan, for gifting the book. Every time you buy the book, the proceeds go towards the ASA Women in Leadership Scholarship Fund, and we're really proud to have given out several scholarships to women over the course of the past few years with that, and we're going to continue that tradition with our new book. And it's really a practical guide. It's called To Life in Leadership, and one of the pieces of feedback we got from Together We Rise is, while we wrote it as women and originally for women, what we realized was it really was for women, our allies, and other people. Everyone kind of could relate to the stories. So it really opened our eyes with the next book to say, we each have additional stories to share about something that we took a courageous step to do, and we want to share those stories. So as we worked on a theme and some commonalities between all of us, it's really the courage to do something. So each chapter is around what each one of us individually took the courage to do. Mine is the courage to lead, and I do not like conflict. You said it earlier. I was very
You're very diplomatic.
very
You were so diplomatic.
I do not like conflict. It stems from childhood, and I open up about that a little bit, and it is something that led into how I lead. And I said it earlier, what got you here won't get you there, and I've made some really think a lot of business owners and leaders are going to be able to relate directly to, and I hope it gives them the courage to make similar bold moves. So again, each one of us have a different chapter and a different theme. We are launching it at Thrive at ASA. We also have a panel at Staffing World that will be talking to. Anna is leading a book club at Staffing. They have that whole section where authors are reading, and will be there to stand up and share, her courage to lead story, which is personal and led to AFM Strategic Partners and her journey, and just the of listening to our bodies, our health, and so forth. I won't give away too much, Anna. People need to read it, but you get and open and honest with your chair. And every time I, just like the first one with Together We Rise, that you can ask yourself, so you can actually put into action change. And that's something that's really important to us. Is it's one thing to walk away and feel motivated, but it's another thing to take action for change, and that's really important to us with this guide. Okay, Anna, what was that?
This what I want to say. So Anna, you and I didn't get a chance to interview the last time, so I think this is amazing perspective. So I am really curious to hear. Don't give it all away, but I want to hear, like, what was that catalyst courage moment that hit for you in this?
Let me say this. It's what's amazing about the books. When we first came together for the first book, Together We Rise, none of us had any idea about writing a book. We didn't even know each other that well. And yet when you read the finished book, it was amazing how there was the common themes throughout the book. So it was magic. We said, oh my goodness, this is like absolutely magical. And now here we are a couple of years later, we're going to write a second book, and you think it's going to be difficult because you can't create that same magic that you had with the first book, because we all know each other really well. And how do you have like the common themes? Well, I have to tell you once again, and I get goosebumps, we have magic again, because you read the second book, and I think it's even more powerful than the first book, because it really shows like the growth and the evolution. I think for me, my journey it's rising with courage through fear. And so I will leave it at that. I think you should read the chapter, but it's, you hit a personal impact in life, and you think that you're in control, and then you realize you're not in control, and how you have to trust what's happening around you, and kind of listen to the universe, and have a little bit of faith, and rise through that, and rely on people around you to kind of carry you through that. So again, I say powerful book. I look forward for it to launch and for everybody to get a chance to read it. But hopefully you'll find it as moving as we do.
I'm excited to read it, to get a copy and read it, and get a few to give back out to some of the people that in my sphere that I know are promising leaders that will benefit from those stories. But it's not just like you mentioned, Leslie, is it's not just women that can benefit. I know when I read it, I didn't know Erica Heisen very well. I knew of her. Um, but hearing that story, I kind of connected in her journey through Etain and like how she kind of positions that and how she started out in a very male dominated industry and kind of just worked her way up to the highest position and what she helped do for that company and her why behind it was moving to me. And it prompted me to reach out to her because I was facing some of the similar growth challenges or kind of needing some guidance. And I'm like, hey, Erica, how did you do this? Like, how were you able to do this and get past this level of revenue? And pun intended, but she was an open book. You know, she was like, let's have a call. And we've had so many conversations where she's given me advice and kind of mentored me on how to attack certain challenges. And so just if for nothing else, I'm sure this book has had a magnitude of impact, but if for nothing else, it definitely fostered a great connection between myself and Erica, who's been an amazing mentor to me. And I know a couple of the other ladies that we put into the program that she was a part of to help mentor women leaders. So you're doing good. It's having a real tangible impact out there. So I appreciate you putting your stories down. We need more of that in this industry.
Thank you. We appreciate that. And thank you for being our champion. And you did a
Yes.
whole issue dedicated to us of your
Yeah.
magazine and each chapter. And we really appreciate you kind of giving us a voice and getting the word out there. And again, it's for a great reason with not only helping people individually and companies and teams, but it's supporting the scholarship fund, which really can make change for that next generation.
Yes.
I think it's incredible. And ladies, again, we could talk for hours, but all good things must come to an end. If anybody wants to get a hold of you to get a copy of the book, which we'll have links on page, they'll be able to do that. But if they want to talk to you about sales, marketing, how to bring these things together, what is the best way for them to get in touch with you? Leslie, what's the best way to contact you?
LinkedIn is always the best. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. That's probably the easiest way. So just Leslie Vickrey, and it's REY. And then keep an eye out on ladyleadersbookclub.com. Right now it has the Together We Rise piece, but we'll be updating that with the second book as well.
Awesome.
Yes, I would say the same thing. LinkedIn is probably the easiest. So it's Anna Frazzetto. But definitely look forward to talking to anyone out there.
Awesome. Definitely take advantage and add these ladies to your network. If for nothing else, go follow them on LinkedIn. I follow them and they put out pretty fantastic content. They're engaging and they really got their finger on the pulse of the industry. So there's not many better people to follow than Leslie and Anna here. So Leslie, Anna, thank you so much for being part of Staffing Monthly and just sharing your wisdom on a topic that I think is actually probably the most important thing facing us right now and how to bring marketing and sales together to optimize our growth.
Thank you, Dan, for having us. And I would say, I agree 100%.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you so much, Dan.
All right. Take care.